Urban and Donna is a story of the outpouring in the first several months, I think it was. One of the people who's the vital part of the outpouring has since gone to be with the Lord. Kenny Knight came into his service, a pre-service, and said to us, there will be somebody in the service tonight with stage 4 cancer, and God is going to heal them. Now, those who knew Kenny Knight, the first time Kenny came in and said to us, Jesus came to my house today and said to me, we all kind of looked at him like, okay, what tree did you come out from under? But after a while, track record kind of got through. And he would say to us, when Jesus came to my house, and we're like, what did he say? What did he say? So when he said, the Lord has said there'll be somebody in the meeting tonight with stage 4 cancer, came into the auditorium looking. And Donna was sitting in front of the sound desk, and she had a kerchief on her head. And I knew immediately, this is. And now the healing that took place involved a journey. But that journey began here in the outpouring, and it has led Donna into some other areas, and we're delighted to have her and her literally brand new book that arrived like the day the conference began. Okay. You don't cut it any tighter than that. Donna, would you come and tell us about your book?
Thank you. I have to really relate to Autumn, too, that this was a project that I didn't want to do. I didn't want to, well, even going back to the healing night, I was arguing with God on this carpet because I'd already done chemo and done surgery. And then I had been promised here in a March outpouring that Dr. Horvath preached that night, that I would be healed. And so I'm going, so Lord, where is it? I mean, what? We've already done these other 2 parts. What? They told me that we were going to have to do radiation, and it was microscopic foci. And I'm saying, what in the world? But it was tiny particles of cancer that were left that they couldn't do anything about it with just the other methods. So they said radiation is the way to go. So I'm talking to God and I'm saying, I don't want to do this. 6 weeks of living in St. Louis. Trust me, we lived there 2 years. I'm a country girl. We loved our animals. We loved everything about being out of the city. Liked to visit, but I didn't really want to live there. And but on the carpet, God said, this is an act of obedience. I have people for you to witness to. You tell me that you'll go anywhere in the world and do whatever I ask you to do. So why will you not just do this? Just go do the radiation. Everything is aligned. We had no expenses for my lodging for 6 weeks. I stayed perfectly free at American Cancer City Hope Lodge, American Cancer Center in St. Louis. It was 2 blocks from the hospital. It was perfect. And we had a place we could cook meals. But this book is not really about that. That will be for a future one. It is a similarity, though, in that God called me to do a very hard thing. Oh, one part, though. While I was in St. Louis doing that, it was the biggest mission field I'd had in my whole life. Every day I would walk from the parking garage over to the place where they were doing the radiation. I'd say, God, I'm entering the mission field, and he would just bring me people. And, we built a whole little network of what I called the gown girls, because we all were in that inner little waiting room in our hospital gowns, waiting to go back and do treatment. And those friendships have stayed. So not only did God use me to witness to people during the time of the radiation, that's continued. So somewhere down the road, that'll be another book. This one, though, is called Empty to Overflowing. It was just in our hands on Thursday. Just hours before this conference started, it got delivered, drop shipped to the hotel. And we picked them up there, made arrangements. They were gracious. The Durian said, absolutely, we'll put them in the boardroom for you. And you could just get them. But, and Tom managed to get all 8 boxes into our Chevy Cruze. That was enough. So this is called Empty to Overflowing. It deals with a part of my life that I wish I could tell you, that I didn't ever have to tell you things that happened here. I wish I could say that I had stayed in church from high school past college and I served the Lord the whole time. I was teaching Sunday school for toddlers when I was a senior in high school. But I got church hurt, and then I went to college. And the two things together took me on a journey that you don't really know what's happening at the time, but the worldliness increases if you're away from God. And your friends change, and where you spend your time. For me, went from church service and sanctioned activities at school to, basement bars and hanging out with people, going places, doing things that those people who became my friends in college, they weren't going to church on Sunday morning, they were sleeping in. So that's where I met my husband, first husband. That's where a lot of decisions got made. And so I argued with God on this. It was like, okay, so I understand. You want me to speak to the women who were like I was then, that are making, at that time I didn't really even see them as choices. I just saw them as things happening to me. But literally, we have an opportunity to make a decision and a choice at any point in our life for anything that's happening. I just counted it more important to belong to a group than to get to the source of where my hope really needed to rest and find new friends. So, as a result, I ended up married to someone who did not share my values. We did not have anything really much in common as far as, I don't know how this all happens, but it's like you get into a crowd and it's all about having a good time. And out of it, I ended up betrayed. I had a miscarriage. I was married to a man who wasn't willing to even consider having children, and I wanted children desperately. Well, that's a pretty big difference. You can't really have a gray area on that. You either are or you aren't. So this grieving for children that I never had has been with me my whole life. And but God gave me a completely separate second phase of my life. And out of that, I have a good marriage now. I have stepsons, I have grandchildren. But he went a step further, and he told me to read Isaiah 54 every week, because it's full of wisdom for women, especially. And then he called me to write this book, to tell my story, the ugly part, and I said, okay, then how about we do this? How about we make it a novel? And I change all the names, and I change all the places, and I change, I'll tell the story, but I don't have to make it like really, really all real. And he said, no. And I went back a few more times, and I said, okay, how about we do this? And he was like, no. He said, you have to own it, you have to speak it, you have to tell it, raw, vulnerable, just like it was. Because if the women hear it any other way, they're not going to know which part's true and which part's not. And you're doing it not for you, and I'm sorry if it's embarrassing you, but Donna, get over it. Because, there's women who need to be reached for me. The purpose is for me. So, it took me 6 years to do this. And a lot of trauma that I had to re-experience. Still some things that yet have to be addressed, that have to be worked out, but we're getting there. And so, the Isaiah 54, the daughters of the barren woman will be more and greater than of the woman who has a husband. Well, God is fulfilling that. Through Isaiah 54 daughters, I have a whole group of women that I've been able to speak into their life. God's bringing more. The first chapter of this book, first of all, the foreword. I cannot thank Pastor Karen and Apostle Keith enough, and this house, because for over 13 years, they've been my home church of my heart. Whenever there's something that comes up that's difficult, something that's joyful, I'm texting Cindy, I'm getting a message to somebody to let them know that, hey, God's doing something. And we need prayer. When my youngest, or oldest stepson, when his son was really, really sick, and then he died. He was not quite two. They were there, you know, and so they were with me on this too. And Karen wrote the foreword, main foreword, and it's a beautiful blending of her story with my story. Different needs, different ways, but mothers and daughters blended in the whole thing. And not only did this just get in here on Thursday, it just went live on Amazon yesterday. So you are getting the very, very, very first of everything. It's a first fruits offering to the Lord. And Denise, when we were praying this morning, what I saw was I was standing at the door. Jesus was on the other side. I was standing there and I knew I needed to walk through, but I was a little bit of trepidation, and he took my hand and he just helped me just make that first step to just go on through to this next phase, because this is launching my destiny. It's launching the next thing. Now out of this is a first fruits offering. There's another part. When God established this ministry, Prepare, Love, Praise, in 2016, really called it in 2014, but everything's together in 2016. He said that there should be a first fruits offering and a regular tithe out of this ministry to him for every single product he gives me to do. So you will have the opportunity to submit an application if you want to be considered to receive some free books. In this case, free books of this. We'll set a quantity. My board will help decide. You fill out the form, you pay the postage, you agree to give them away free. You cannot charge anyone for them. But think about pregnancy resource centers, people in your church, women's groups, you know, somebody in your congregation or in the mix that you meet that you just know they might live in, you know, a house that's got 5 walk-in closets, but they're spiritually empty and they're hurting and they need Jesus. So we just want to see Jesus brought to him, and there'll be that ministry that goes on in conjunction with. So it's called Empty to Overflowing, so that letters to the daughter I always wanted. So we just give all the glory to God, and thank you very much.
Before I introduce the